Okay, I will translate the provided text into English, US, following all the instructions. Here's the translation. Inuese. A person faced with an inexplicable rise in blood sugar levels despite cutting out sweets sought help. He eliminated candies, pastries, and sweetened tea from his diet, but his readings continued to worsen. In desperation, he declared, "I'm doing everything right, but my sugar is still rising." An analysis of his food diary revealed an unexpected cause: foods capable of raising blood sugar even more than sugar itself. Today, I will reveal the secret of 5 such foods, a hidden threat, especially for people over 50. You'll be surprised to learn that some of them are traditionally considered healthy. But most importantly, I'll show you how easy it is to replace them to stabilize your blood sugar without strict diets, giving up your favorite dishes, or resorting to medication. The first product on the list is baked pumpkin. Yes, that's not a typo. Many, including myself, have long considered it a healthy source of vitamins and fiber. Patients often say, "Pumpkin is healthy, I eat it instead of cake." However, heat treatment, especially baking, turns the starch in pumpkin into simple sugar. The glycemic index of baked pumpkin reaches 95, while that of regular sugar is around 65. This means that baked pumpkin can raise blood sugar levels even more than pure sugar. Eating it on an empty stomach leads to a sharp spike in sugar, overloading the pancreas and causing rapid fatigue. One of my patients, Andrei Nikolaevich, 63, replaced cakes and candies with baked pumpkin with cinnamon, considering it a healthy dessert. However, his blood sugar level remained above 210. An experiment showed that after eating a portion of baked pumpkin after a stable dinner, his blood sugar jumped to 247. He admitted, "I thought I was eating right." That's where the danger lies. We don't feel the sweetness, but the body receives it and reacts as if it were sugar. But you shouldn't give up pumpkin completely. It's important to cook and consume it properly. It is recommended to eat only boiled pumpkin, no more than 100 g per serving, about a third of a small tuber, and only after a main meal, not on an empty stomach. It is enough to eat it 2 or 3 times a week. Boiling breaks down some of the starch and slows down its conversion to glucose, reducing the glycemic load by almost half. For people with sensitive stomachs, it is recommended to cook the pumpkin until it is completely soft and lightly mash it with olive oil and a pinch of turmeric. This will provide gentle nourishment with fiber and carotene without sugar spikes. It is important not to combine pumpkin with fruits. Baked pumpkin combined with pear or mandarin can become a real glucose bomb, causing a sharp spike in sugar, headache, lethargy, and palpitations. Often, the problem is not in excessive consumption of sweets, but in eating healthy foods in the wrong form and at the wrong time. Even a most beneficial product can become harmful if you don't understand how it affects the body. Pumpkin is not an enemy, but in fried or baked form and in moderate quantities, it ceases to be a friend. Let pumpkin remain on your table, but in the right form and with respect for your body's needs. This is a sensible approach to nutrition and diabetes, based on understanding, not fanaticism. The second point is a dangerous habit that is often overlooked: the wrong order of eating. This may seem insignificant, but it is actually one of the most powerful factors influencing blood sugar spikes, especially in people with diabetes or prediabetes. What do you usually start lunch with? Many answer, with soup, porridge, potatoes, pasta, and some with bread. It is this order that disrupts the pancreas. When a person starts eating with carbohydrates, such as rice or potatoes, glucose almost instantly enters the bloodstream. If the stomach is empty, absorption occurs very quickly. The pancreas receives a signal that it needs to urgently release insulin. However, with age, the body's sensitivity to insulin decreases. This leads to a sharp spike in blood sugar, overloading blood vessels, fatigue, and irritability. Over time, insulin resistance and diabetes develop. I have observed many such cases. One of the most memorable is Valery Andreevich, 70 years old, who watched his diet, refused sweets, and ate the right foods, but his blood sugar level remained unstable, especially after eating. An analysis of his diet showed that he always started with a side dish, buckwheat, potatoes, bread, and ate protein at the end as a supplement. I suggested changing only the order of eating. First a salad, at least a little, then meat or fish, and only then cereals. 2 weeks later, he returned with a shining face and reported that for the first time in 2 years, his blood sugar level after eating did not rise above 130. This is not magic, but physiology. When you start eating with vegetables, fiber forms a film on the walls of the intestine, slowing down the absorption of carbohydrates. Protein promotes insulin production and gives a feeling of satiety. Carbohydrates, consumed in smaller quantities, do not cause sharp spikes in blood sugar. Simple formula. First raw or stewed vegetables, then protein, meat, fish, eggs, legumes, and only then carbohydrates, cereals, potatoes, bread. Research from the University of Osaka has shown that this order of eating reduces blood sugar levels 30 minutes after eating by 35% without changing the foods or the amount of food. I recommend this approach to all my patients, especially those who take medication but do not feel improvement. They're surprised. I eat the same food, but my blood sugar level has stabilized. How is this possible? The thing is that it is not only calories or the correctness of foods that matter, but also the time and order in which they are consumed. Don't be afraid of vegetables for breakfast. Even a few lettuce leaves before porridge or a little stewed spinach can change your blood sugar level. It may seem strange, but it works. If you want to reduce your medication dose or simply improve your well-being, start small. Change the order of eating. It costs nothing, but the result can be enormous. Fruits are the third trap. Since childhood, we have heard that fruits are healthy and we need to eat more vitamins. But for diabetics, this is a double danger. Fruits contain fructose, which, although slower than glucose, still raises blood sugar levels, especially when consumed in large quantities and on an empty stomach. One of my patients, Tadana Sergivna, 72 years old, snacked on melon every day, considering it almost water. However, one day her blood sugar level after a snack reached 228. An experiment with melon, banana, and raspberry showed that banana raises blood sugar by 75 points, melon by 65, and raspberry by only 15. Since then, she has switched to berries, raspberry, blueberry, eating no more than a handful at a time, and only after eating, not on an empty stomach. You shouldn't be afraid of fruits, but you need to treat them like medicine, consuming them in moderation. Fruit is not an enemy, but excess fructose is sugar. Moderation and awareness are the key to success. What do you eat first in the morning? Bread, porridge, or fruit? If so, you're not giving your body a chance to keep your blood sugar within a normal range. This is not an exaggeration. Overnight, the body uses up its glucose stores and becomes particularly sensitive to food in the morning. If carbohydrates enter the body first thing, whether in the form of a banana, sandwich, or oatmeal with honey, there is a sharp spike in blood sugar. In response, the pancreas rushes to release insulin, leading to subsequent fatigue, trembling hands, and anxiety within a couple of hours. This mechanism is known as the hormonal pendulum. Its consequences are observed everywhere. As an example, consider the story of Mikhail Nikolaevich, a 66-year-old patient who was accustomed to starting his day with muesli, milk, and a banana. Despite the apparent healthiness of such a breakfast, his fasting blood sugar level reached 155 and rose to 200 after eating. The patient could not understand the reason for this phenomenon because he claimed that he did not eat cookies and sugar. During the experiment, Mikhail Nikolaevich was offered to replace his usual breakfast with 10 to 12 leaves of steamed spinach. After eating spinach, he could eat his usual breakfast. The results were striking. Fasting blood sugar decreased to 98, and 1 hour after eating was 124. Mikhail Nikolaevich was surprised, wondering how ordinary grass could have such an effect. The secret lies in the fact that the fiber and bitterness contained in spinach slowed down the absorption of sugars and increased sensitivity to insulin. Spinach acts as a kind of protective filter, preparing the body for eating. For proper preparation of spinach, it is recommended to take a bunch of fresh leaves, rinse them thoroughly, cut them into palm-sized pieces, lightly sprinkle with water, cover with plastic wrap, and place in a microwave for 2 minutes. You can also steam the spinach. It is important not to overcook the leaves to preserve the vitamins they contain. For flavor, you could add a little olive oil or miso paste, but in moderation, so as not to overpower the main effect. This ritual has been part of the daily diet for over 10 years, and despite the initial unfamiliarity, stable glucometer readings quickly form a positive attitude. As an alternative to spinach, you can use stewed broccoli or a salad of green leaves. The main thing is that the composition includes vegetables rich in fiber and with a minimum content of sugars. Eating fruit on an empty stomach is not recommended. It is important to understand that the morning spike in blood sugar is not just a number. This is a factor that affects blood pressure, heart function, and energy levels throughout the day. High blood sugar leads to lethargy, irritability, and hunger by 10 a.m., while a stable level provides vigor, calmness, and no thoughts about food until lunch. Thus, it is important to think about what the day begins with products that give strength or with those that have a destructive effect. A small portion of spinach can change not only one day, but the whole life. Breakfast is not just a meal, but the foundation of health. Therefore, it is worth trying to replace the usual products, such as bread, porridge, or yogurt, with vegetables. Snacks with low fat content are particularly dangerous, such as fat-free yogurts, crisp breads, rice cakes, fruit bars, and cereal pillows. Despite their apparent lightness, convenience, and benefits, they often cause constant hunger and unstable blood sugar levels. Fats play an important role in metabolism, provide long-lasting satiety, slow down the absorption of sugars, and help maintain normal blood sugar levels between meals. Fat-free snacks, on the contrary, give a short-term burst of energy, followed by a decline, and the need for a new portion of food arises. As an example, consider the story of Svetlana Vasilyevna, a 68-year-old patient with unstable diabetes who decided to lose weight by adhering to a fat-free diet. However, despite eating fat-free yogurt, crisp breads, and fruit snacks, she felt hungry after only an hour, and her blood sugar level fluctuated. The patient complained that she could not stop and broke down, overeating, and then felt guilty. Instead of giving up snacks, Svetlana Vasilyevna was offered to replace them. Instead of crisp bread, half an avocado with salt, instead of sweet yogurt, a boiled egg, and in between, green tea with a teaspoon of butter, the so-called bulletproof tea, which provides a stable level of energy for 3 to 4 hours, does not cause sugar spikes and reduces appetite. The results were impressive. The feeling of hunger disappeared, the blood sugar level stabilized, and the weight began to decrease. Fats, especially healthy ones, contained in nuts, fish, eggs, and avocados, help the body feel full and calm. It is important to observe moderation. A handful of nuts is not a bowl, and half an avocado is not a whole fruit. However, in moderate doses, these products can become a medicine for overeating. Fat-free snacks are especially dangerous during the day, when the sugar level is no longer at its peak and the feeling of hunger creeps up unnoticed. At such moments, people often choose light options, such as crisp breads, dried fruits, or fat-free yogurt, and then are surprised by the evening increase in pressure, irritability, and cravings for sweets. As an alternative, it is recommended to eat a boiled egg with a few slices of cucumber, a handful of unsalted nuts, almonds, pine nuts, cashews, tea with butter, if well tolerated, half an apple with a spoonful of almond paste, or half an avocado with lemon juice. The main thing is that the snack contains fats or proteins, and not just carbohydrates. If you can't make it to the next meal without a snack, this indicates a lack of stable support in the body, and a fat-free crisp bread will not solve the problem. Fats, fiber, and simple, calm food are needed. Sugar is not only about sweets, but also about the body's reaction to food. Snacks without fat are a deception that seems easy at first, but then triggers a mechanism of hunger and imbalance. It is important to take care of yourself, not to refuse food, but to eat it wisely. A snack can be both a medicine and a trap, and the choice always remains with the person. Thus, products and habits that can raise blood sugar levels even more than sugar itself have been considered. Now, there's an understanding of how to cope with this without resorting to strict diets, without giving up food, and without going to extremes. In conclusion, it is worth recalling the most important points. Baked pumpkin raises blood sugar almost as much as pure glucose, so it should be replaced with boiled, eaten after eating, and no more than 100 g at a time. The order of eating matters. First vegetables, then protein, then carbohydrates, which allows you to protect the pancreas and stabilize blood sugar. Fruits, even healthy ones, can be harmful, so they should be eaten in moderation, no more than a handful, and never eaten on an empty stomach. Morning carbohydrates are a mistake, so the day should start with vegetables, such as spinach, broccoli, and greens, which reduces blood sugar and provides stable energy for the whole day. Fat-free snacks lead to constant hunger, so it is necessary to add healthy fats, such as nuts, eggs, and avocados, which helps to align blood sugar levels. It is important to remember that health begins not with pills, but with a conscious choice of food and the formation of correct habits.